Well, good day and welcome to you. It is March the 15th. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. You're staying safe out there, of course, and just enjoying life. Now, if you are new to Search for Signs, I want to welcome you to Search for Signs and just take a brief moment for those who are hearing this information for the first time, and even to remind those who have heard these videos before to start trying to learn more about this information for yourself. If you're interested. If you're not interested, there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I'm saying? I can't force anybody to look at some of these links. But I have provided some websites that I think give you a lot of really good background information about Maitreya's priorities, about this information, about the miracles we talk about, even about something we're about to talk about in this video, which is the principle of sharing. So hopefully you'll take advantage of it and you'll look at it. Then you can see if there's any truth to this information on whatever level that might be. And then you can decide what you want to do about it. But I do think learning more about this information is the best thing that any one of us can do, whether we've heard it before or if we're hearing it for the first time. So hopefully you'll take advantage of it. Now, I have some comments that came my way, and I want to look and address all of them, but this video would just get way too long if I tried to do all of them at the same time. So I'm going to focus in on what Rick asked, and his comment was quite long. I do recommend reading it if you're interested in reading comments, because I do think that what he says, there's a lot of truth to what he's saying in this comment. But I want to kind of just address the question portion of it, if that's okay with you, Rick. But thank you so much for everything else in the comments. And like I said, I hope those who are interested take a time to really look at it, because there's a lot to what he had to say. But he was commenting about the war in Ukraine based on a video I put up a few days ago. What can we do in regards to the war in Ukraine? Even at a government level, intervening in a war with Russia is playing with nuclear fire. I don't believe Putin is of sound mind right now, which makes this such a dangerous situation. One can only hope that his generals would intervene in the event of, quote-unquote, pushing the button. We can't rely on that. All right, and then there's some other things like you said about sanctions and so forth, and how sanctions can be dangerous in their own way if they're perceived incorrectly by a madman or somebody who's unstable like Putin maybe. Now, a couple things. I want to talk about this on an individual level and just make some suggestions. Not that my suggestions are the best suggestions out there, but just some things that I've been thinking about for myself. And then what governments can do. But I want to start with the problem of commercialization and how I think this relates to this scenario that's going on right now in the news between Russia and Ukraine. Now, according to Maitreya, the arms buildup of the Cold War that happened several decades right after World War II, all the way up to the late 80s, there was an energy behind it, because these masters see life all as energy, which even Einstein talked about, life is all energy. But even our thoughts, even our emotions, our intentions and everything, there's energy behind it. And when something is as massive in terms of a Cold War between two superpowers, and one of those superpowers, collapsed as the Soviet Union did, and then that arms buildup stopped, that same energy had to go somewhere, according to Maitreya. And the way the master saw it, it went around the world several times to try to find a new womb, and it did just that. As Maitreya says, it found a new womb in the markets of the world. And not long after the Cold War ended, the markets boomed. Now they've gone down, and there's Maitreya predicts that the stock market will eventually collapse, causing even more economic hardship than the last time it almost went totally down in 2008. It's going to be even worse than that, according to what he had to say, what Benjamin Creme's master said about it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another video, because I wanted to address the economic situation that we're seeing today and how it's affecting Main Street, maybe not Wall Street yet, but Main Street. But let's just kind of stay focused on the Ukraine and Russia thing. Now, where I think commercialization fits in this is Maitreya says commercialization is more dangerous than a nuclear bomb. And I do think that the problems of not only Ukraine and Russia, but with what's happened with, let's say, in the Middle East, the United States invasion in the Middle East and so forth, the root cause of it sits squarely on the shoulders of commercialization. Now, the frustrating thing for me personally, and I expressed my frustration to Benjamin Creme one time when I was with him, just kind of individually talking. And I told him, there's no way around it in the United States. You can't, unless you just go and move off the grid in some remote mountain, forest area of the country. If you're living in society on any level, you're supporting commercialization, whether you like it or not. If you own a company, you basically are supporting commercialization that way. If you're working for a company, you're supporting commercialization that way. If you're giving money to a corporation for whatever it is, whether it's gasoline to get to your job, even if you're volunteering, you have to give money to a gas station to fill your tank up with gas. That's which is causing the environmental problem. It's like we're all, because of the system, we're all contributing to the problem. You know what I mean? And that was the frustrating thing about it. There's no way around it. And I just remember one thing, and this might give you a little bit of consolation about it if you find yourself as frustrated as I am about it. Ben said, it's going to be okay. And it kind of put my mind at ease. But that leads me to the next thing that I think that we should all do individually. If you believe on whatever level you believe this information to be true, to do our best to stay detached, not to have, as Maitreya says, be at peace and remember to pray. He said that right after the tsunami, that Christmas tsunami of whatever year I can't remember what year that was, in Asia, that was so devastating. He wrote it on a sign, and it's a wonderful little sketch that he did, but be at peace and remember to pray. In regards to anything, be at peace and remember to pray. But he also said to uphold the hope of others. And you can't do that when you're starting to find yourself with a lot of fear about and uncertainty about the future. So just be detached. It's going to be okay. The news is guilty of, and commercialization is a part of this, mind you. Okay, and this is another part of the problem of corporate media and even the alternative media that love views on their own websites and so forth, or YouTube channels and so forth. So they know that fear is the best way to get people to pay attention to you. You don't get a lot of people who follow you on Instagram and Facebook. Like if you're kind of like an alternative news program, right? If all you're doing is talking about the good things that are going on, it's the bad things that create the interest, right? And the news media know this, and they use it even in a serious situation such as this. I'm not discounting the seriousness of this, but they might be inflaming the fear too, and just to be detached from it. Because somebody such as yourself, Rick, who's starting to sense the world need, even one of these masters talked about it, you might be sensing the fear of society or the fear of humanity, where you might not necessarily individually be afraid of it, but the fear might be, you might not. It was always a danger that a person who's starting to sense the world need would get engrossed in the fear of humanity and not be able to tell the difference between their fear and the fear of others. So try to be detached as much as you can. I know it's difficult for me sometimes because I get drawn into it too, to remind myself to just be at peace. It's going to be okay. Right? And you can only do that by being detached from the situation. It's going to be all right. Now, the other thing too that I think is kind of poignant about commercialization, and also in regards to Ukraine, I remember reading just a few days ago, there was this article, I think it was in Forbes or something like that, or Business Weekly or something. Anyway, I can't remember exactly where I read it, but it was a online business magazine article. And there was an investment banker for a very prominent bank said that they saw that there was a 10% chance of total nuclear annihilation on this planet within the next few weeks or months. But keep investing in those stocks. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't think the percentage chance is that high, you know what I mean? But there's always a percentage chance, you know what I mean? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, right? But to turn around and encourage people to keep investing in stocks, it's like, that's the problem with commercialization. It's all about the markets. It's what's going to happen to the markets, even though there's a higher chance that of nuclear annihilation than there's been in years because of this conflict. Keep investing in those markets, right? So now I am going to read, I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing. I think I'm just going to read half of Benjamin Creme's master's article about really what I think the governments of the world should do to solve not only this problem, but all the problems. But individually, I think the best thing to do is, like I said, just be at peace and remember to pray. Educate yourself more if you know about this information and you want to know more about it or want to see if there's any truth to it. Educate yourself better. That's something that you can do in the meantime. Because I don't think really, you talked about Putin not being of sound mind. I don't think any of our world leaders, whether they're in office or out of office, are really of sound mind. And they're at the very least betraying the trust of the people that put their trust in them, because it's all about the markets, and the profits and so forth. So corporations and military contractors, it doesn't matter how much they destabilize the world, it's about the profits, that kind of thing. That's why Maitreya said commercialization is more dangerous than a nuclear bomb, because it's everywhere. And we can't get around it. It's like I said, especially in the United States, you cannot get around it. It doesn't matter where you go, what you do, however you want to do it. If you want to get out of your house and go somewhere or eat or drink water or go to the doctor or whatever, you are contributing to the commercialization problem. You know what I'm saying? On some level, there's no way around it. But our leaders, whatever they suggest, whether it is a no-fly zone, sanctions, no sanctions, military action, no military action, whatever they're suggesting, those are all ways of doing it in the past, and they've never worked. So to expect them to have any real effect of bringing about a peaceful resolution to anything, long term, it's naivete. It's ignorance of their own laws of cosmos, which, the law of cause and effect. A tree is known by its fruit, however you want to put it. If it hasn't happened yet, and it hasn't, what do they say now? The definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. I guess it's another way of saying a tree is known by its fruit, right? I mean, what has happened with no-fly zones and sanctions is nothing but, it might solve the problem initially, might get Putin to kind of back off a little bit, but did it bring about peace? No. You know what I'm saying? So if it hasn't happened, based on what they've been doing, it's probably not going to happen now, right? Now, there is an answer, and I'm going to read, for those of us who care to know what might be the answer to the problem. And then where we can fit in individually is learn more about the principle of sharing, why it's so important, why peace is so important. So when Maitreya is out there really speaking heart to heart to the people, waking humanity up, and we start going to our world leaders saying, no, we want peace, we want justice, we want to see the end of all war and those kind of things, you will see that you already know that to be true, that we need to do this. That's why I encourage people to investigate this information for themselves. Not to change your beliefs or religious beliefs, but to look at what's important. What is important is the need for peace. If you're a fundamentalist Christian, stay a fundamentalist Christian, but look into why is peace so important for humanity. So, anyway, now Benjamin Creme's master said the key to the future, and I hope whoever was interested in this, listens to this, and maybe even go to the Share International site and read this article for yourself and really internalize what he's saying, the words that he's saying. It really has a lot of power to it. So, this is what he said about what is the key to the future. It is with sadness that we watch the continuing efforts of men to solve their problems with the methods of the past. These problems are many and relate to the future as much as to the present. In the main, they are relics of the past and represent a heavy burden for the burgeoning societies of today. Lost in their fierce battle for markets, governments everywhere try all the standard ways to achieve security and strength, development and innovation, and stability in the midst of change. It is an impossible task. There is but one answer to all their troubles, one solution to all their problems, yet none so far has ventured to whisper the word which at a stroke would free them and the world, which at one stroke would launch this world into the new era of righteousness and truth. Let the word resound. Let the word demonstrate the new civilization, the new society. Let the word be heard everywhere. Let men respond. The word is the sound of righteousness. It is the sound of truth. The word brings all men together and builds the brotherhood of men. The word sits lightly on the heart, bringing happiness to all. The word is wise and generous, filled with love. The word is sharing, the key to the future. Sharing is the answer to all men's problems. Sharing is another word for divinity. Sharing initiates the highest that is possible for man, for it opens the door to trust. Sharing will take men to the feet of God. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.